It is 8 p.m. and here are our top stories. Hot and dry conditions sparking fires throughout Colorado. Tonight, Denver 7 is tracking high fire danger across the state.
More trouble for a struggling school district, the state board changing its decision about recognizing Adams 14.
Baby formula is getting harder and harder to find.
That's the only place that people can go find formula, and it's constantly completely empty.
We break down the options for parents feeling helpless.
It's just been a great way for other moms to help other moms.
Plus, lawmakers putting Colorado's struggling film industry in the spotlight.
If we lose our young creative class, then we lose a big piece of our filmmaking community here.
But a new plan can turn this tragedy into a comeback story.
The opportunity to have more movies filmed in Colorado, I think is nothing but great for the state moving forward.
Good evening, and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm MICAH Smith.
I'm Danny New. It was a dry, windy, very warm day across Colorado, which can be perfect weather for a picnic, but unfortunately also the perfect condition for fire danger.
Crews have been working to put out several fires popping up around the state. Crews in Greeley are working to restore power to parts of downtown after a grass fire impacted power lines this afternoon. The fire started near railroad tracks along 9th Avenue and 2nd Street. No word on what caused it. Greeley Fire says it could be hours before power is fully restored.
And then in Adams County, crews were quick to put out this small grass fire near Highway 76 and Lowell. An arson investigator is looking into the cause of that, and thankfully no homes were damaged nor any people.
Let's go ahead and check in with Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson for some perspective.
Mike, if conditions were dicey today, I can only imagine what it'll be like tomorrow when it's 90 in May.
That's right. Today we're just in the low 80s, and it took a while to get there, and not everybody did. Up at Fort Collins, only 71, 76 at Greeley, the only 90 down at La Junta. But tomorrow there'll be a lot of 90s across eastern Colorado. The Denver area may see readings close to that as well, and needless to say, fire weather warnings in effect for about 2/3 of the state, and that's not a good sign for us. There's a little thunderstorm activity way down here in the Texas Panhandle, but that's not coming our way. I'll tell you what is. That's not thunderstorms. That is thick smoke from the wildfires down in New Mexico. And look at the modeling overnight tonight as that smoke is going to really come in heavy across much of eastern Colorado by early in the morning. So our weather headlines: hazy, hot and dry for Wednesday, very high fire danger. A bit cooler on Thursday, but in the 7 days you'll see little, if any, precipitation.
Thank you, Mike. A judge has barred Mesa County Clerk of Court Tina Peters from overseeing the November election. Deputy Clerk Belinda Nisley is also barred. Peters, a 2020 election denier, is also seeking the Republican nomination for Secretary of State. But meanwhile, current Secretary of State Jenna Griswold's office has been investigating Peters, who is accused of an election equipment security breach. She's facing 10 counts from a grand jury indictment related to those allegations. So instead, Mesa County Elections Director Brandy Bance will now oversee the 2022 election and its results.
The State Board of Education has voted to reorganize the Adams 14 school district. After years of poor performance, the State Board of Education today voted 4-3 to pull Adams 14's accreditation and begin the process of reorganization. The state's decision could include consolidating with surrounding districts, annexation, or complete dissolution. This evening, we spoke with Dr. Robert Lundeen, a spokesman for the district. He says the decision is punching down on the district and families who have struggled over the last decade.
What they care about is my school going to be there next year? The answer is yes. Are the teachers that I know and trust going to be given the opportunity to do their job? The answer is a categorical yes.
Lundeen says the district is exploring all next steps before a contract partner is decided.
Parenting an infant is already stressful, so add on a nationwide shortage of baby formula, and that is rough. But relief could be in sight for parents staring at empty shelves.
Yeah, just today, the FDA announced it's working with U.S. manufacturers to boost production. And as Denver 7 CB Cotton reports, parents are hoping the hunt for formula will soon end.
MICAH, Danny, this shortage is top of mind for so many parents, and there is a variety of factors that cause this. Supply chain issues that started during the pandemic and have carried over into now. There was also a recall of some Abbott Nutrition baby formulas that happened earlier this year, and of course that further strained the supply. Here's what we're hearing from parents about all of this. Ashley Lane lives in Green Valley Ranch and says her closest King Soopers is almost always out of the Enfamil formula she needs. Now her father, mother, siblings, and even in-laws drive across the Denver metro to try and find it for her. She's not alone. Kelsey Perez operates a Facebook group dedicated to mothers. She says she sees daily messages from moms trying to find formula. We know this is such a big issue. Some major retailers like CVS and Walgreens are limiting customers to 3 formulas per transaction. We spoke with the Associate Chief Nursing Officer of Rocky Mountain Hospital for Children, and she shared one key tip for mothers struggling to find this nutrition.
The big thing is to know that it's okay to alter what formula you have, meaning that you can have generic formula. You can additionally trial out different type of formulas. The biggest thing is if you look on the back, it's important to look to see what your current formula carbohydrates and proteins are and match that with whatever formula you are choosing to go to.
And that was just one tip of many shared with us today. Coming up on Denver 7 News at 10, we'll have more ways that mothers can continue to navigate this formula shortage. For Denver 7 News on Local 3, I'm CB Cotton.
Thank you, CB. The remaining 24 hours or so of the Colorado legislative session is probably going to be chaotic. As of this morning, there were still 199 bills to get through, and there's also a clear divide between Democrats and Republicans. For Democrats, it's about pushing their priorities past the finish line, and for Republicans, it's about running out the clock and making sure bills are read at length.
This is a session where we have really put Coloradans first, and we really set partisanship aside to help tackle some big issues that have systemically failed this state in the past.
Reading at length is a process that the Supreme Court just decided last year that is constitutional, that is part of what the minority has in their toolbox to use. And so part of it too is just making sure that we keep that fresh in everybody's minds. This is the process we're in. Reading bills at length is a part of it.
Now, Democrats have thrown out the idea of a special session if their top priority bills don't get heard. Doing so would be at the expense of taxpayer money.
From Stephen King's Misery to Patrick Swayze's Red Dawn, and recently Spike Lee's Black Klansman. All 3 of those movies take place in Colorado, but none were actually filmed here.
Denver 7's Cliff Bordelon learned why lawmakers want to change that, and one answer can be seen in Estes Park.
The hotel was originally built in 1909.
There's no introduction needed.
People come here for everything that was included in the Shining movie, the Stanley Kubrick.
Because the stories surrounding the Stanley.
We're gonna go see room 217.
Let's do it.
That's what people want to see.
Speak for themselves.
The ghost, the paranormal, everything that happens here. That's our #1 seller.
All because of a room that inspired The Shining.
Why is the key for 217 turned the opposite way?
Because the ghosts like it that way. If it gets turned the way that all the other keys are, it will get turned back without anybody doing it backwards.
Tours about spooky stories.
Lucy doesn't usually eat the food since she's been dead for 50 years. I have actually seen the wrapper open while it was sitting flat on someone's hand.
Paired with surprising facts.
Was filmed more for Dumb and Dumber than it was for The Shining.
Because what you may not know.
Nothing from the movie The Shining is filmed here.
Is all part of the fun.
I think people come here because of the story.
Rand Harrington will tell you the story makes the place.
They leave with their own stories. And I think it's the gathering of stories that they take away that enriches this place and makes people come back for more.
It's the lasting impact of a hotel with a legend cemented by a classic movie.
The Shining is a testament to how much that can happen.
We've shot a couple big movies, but mainly what we get here is little.
Donald Zuckerman of the Colorado Office of Film, Television, and Media wants more cameras with people behind them all over the state.
The neighboring western states, their incentives are frequently 50% higher than ours.
Incentives, that's where production meets a location. Colorado has a rebate program, meaning when something is shot in our state, up to 20% of the production budget can be paid for. But our neighbors in New Mexico offer a 25 to 35% refundable tax credit. Or look at Montana's incentive, which ranges from 15 to 35% in tax credits.
It's devastating because you have people filming movies that are possibly about stories that happened in Colorado, and they're filming them in Montana.
Jim Janasek, who's produced thousands of hours of television, is excited about the passage of House Bill 1408 this year. A film incentive task force will examine the current program. They could decide to issue an incentive higher than the 20% rebate, and we'll see how Colorado can better compete with neighboring states. What they learn will be presented to legislators at the start of next year's session.
The network really looks at who or where they're going to get the biggest bang for the buck.
It also gives the Office of Film, Television, and Media $2 million for the fiscal year.
I don't know of any other state film program that gets that little money.
To qualify for the rebate program in Colorado, production companies need at least half of their cast and crew to be local.
It's tough to be an actor in Colorado. It's always been a challenge for me and as well as my colleagues to actually get consistent work here.
So incentivizing production in Colorado and hiring local changes the focus for people who already work in the field and those who want to.
We're offering world-class education in film at community college prices.
The Colorado Film School has around 300 students, and many of them would like to build their career in the state they fell in love with.
Some of them are going to go to other markets if we can't provide those jobs for them.
A reflection of what we've seen in the past.
And it is a very old mirror, but people will see weird images in it, weird images around it.
And still see today.
Artists can get at truth in a way that scientists can't.
Because what's behind any good movie?
What is it that moves people? Emotions, right? And how you feel about something. How do you get somebody to feel something? You tell a story.
Is something time can't touch. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Coming up on Denver 7 News at 8. More pain at the pump as gas prices hit new highs. President Biden lays out his plan to tackle rising costs for Americans struggling under pressure.
I want every American to know that I'm taking inflation very seriously.
It was very comfortable this afternoon, not so tomorrow. Highs near 90 degrees.
Who needs Mr. Ed when you have this mini horse named Rocky?
He is so beautiful, it breaks up the monotony.
One cool colt proving a little horsepower goes a long way.
We're lucky he's such a good boy. You might not know it, but he is a good boy.